How much caffeine is too much caffeine for you to have every day? Hi, I'm Rob Hunter. We are Earn It All, and we have an answer for you on that very important question today with no one better than our head coach, Adam Niall. So Adam, like many people, I'm addicted to caffeine. My routine.
As am I.
Yeah, well, it happens, right? You get up in the morning, you have your coffee. I usually do 2 cups of coffee in the morning, and then either a third cup somewhere in that early afternoon or an energy drink. So is there a milligram amount that I should be avoiding going over?
Absolutely. Basically, the top level of caffeine that you should be ingesting per day is 400 milligrams. That's like the upper limit safe dose from all the studies, after countless studies, all the stuff, and seeing when people would go to the hospital, the upper tolerable safe dose is 400 milligrams. Can you get away with a lot more than that? Absolutely. Depending on if you're, a hyper responder, if your liver can clear out caffeine really fast. Myself, I can clear out caffeine really fast, so I can have a coffee now at 4 p.m. and go to sleep just fine. Yes, it's still going to, diminish my rest, my restful sleep a little bit, but it's not going to be, as crazy as somebody who doesn't process caffeine quickly. So if you process caffeine very slowly, that 400 milligrams of caffeine, say if you had 400 milligrams at noon and you're a slow processor of caffeine, the half-life of caffeine can be up to 9 hours.
How would someone know, Adam, if they're a slow processor of caffeine?
Yeah, so that's a simple genetic test. If you have done Ancestry.com, 23andMe, or anything like that, you can get that raw data, and then, there's countless websites and stuff you can go to find out if you're a hyper responder to caffeine. You're going to know, though, generally. If you can have a coffee or an energy drink at night and then go to sleep, you're probably a fast metabolizer of caffeine.
But if you're, like you said, at noon, you have 1 cup of coffee, you're like, I'll be up all night.
Yeah.
It might be a little different for you.
It might be a little different.
How many milligrams on average in a cup of coffee?
It depends on the coffee. But general rule of thumb, anywhere from 65 to 120 milligrams, depending on how the beans are roasted. The darker the bean, the less caffeine, which is something that I didn't know. I actually learned that from a barista friend of mine in Colorado. I thought the darker the bean, I was getting more caffeine, right? It's darker.
Would make sense.
It's stronger,
Yeah.
right? It's actually not. When you roast the bean longer, you roast out the caffeine. So unless they add it back in somehow. Some of these coffees out here, though, like Death Wish, I think they add caffeine back into it. So they add synthetic caffeine back into it. So you're getting 200, 300 milligrams of caffeine per 8-ounce to 12-ounce cup of coffee, which
It's
is
like energy drink coffee.
kind of insane. Yeah. And then don't get me started on pre-workouts. Some of these pre-workouts out here now have 600 milligrams of caffeine, and it's getting out of hand.
What signs should be looking aware of to notice that you've had too much caffeine? Like, what happens to your body if you overdo it? If you're doing 600 milligrams per day and you're 200 over your recommended limit, what happens to you after a month or a year?
Yeah, I mean, if you have anxiety at all and you stop drinking caffeine and the anxiety goes away, you didn't actually have anxiety. You had caffeine-induced anxiety. So most people are not anxious. They're just overly stimulated. So taking a break from caffeine every now and then is awesome. I do 30 to 60 days once or twice a year. Just completely, come off it. Yeah, you're going to have a headache for the first 3 days, of course. It's a drug. Caffeine is a drug. So just like any drug, you're going to have withdrawal symptoms when you come off of it. But it's a great way to help reset your adenosine receptors, which is what caffeine binds to. And it's a great way to, kind of flush the system out and make your caffeine work better for you when you have it again.
So optimizing your own body.
Yeah. If you remember back the first time you ever had caffeine, when was the first time you ever had caffeine?
As a kid, probably a soda of some kind.
Right. That's usually when it is, right? It's usually like a soda or something like that. I didn't have caffeine until I was 16, and I had caffeine in a pill at a 200 milligram. I think it was called a bee. It was like a stinger or something. It's like a gas station energy pill, right?
I remember seeing those.
And I was 16. I took one. I took 2 of them, so it was 400 milligrams. I took 2 of them when I got to school one day, and it was insane. My eyeballs were this big. I was shaking, and I was like, oh my God, this is amazing, right? And it's like, right? And now 400 milligrams of caffeine
doesn't even move the needle.
I don't even get out of bed for that, over the years, right, you develop a tolerance to it, and just like any other drug or anything else, you develop a tolerance to it. It doesn't work the right way anymore. It doesn't work properly. So taking time off every now and then, it's good.
Are there any other ways that you would recommend to maybe give some distance between your caffeine? Maybe in the morning you should do something rather than I get up, I go to the bathroom, I walk to the coffee machine, and I hit brew.
Oh, man, that's building a business, right? Some days are like that. I'll caveat real quick because this is a topic that I really like, and it's the morning routine, right? You have all these influencers telling you about their 3 to 4 hour morning routine where it's like, hey, I'm a high-performing entrepreneur, right? And before 8 a.m., I have cold plunged 3 times, worked out, done a meditation, written a book, read a book, like all this nonsense, right? But that's not how they actually built their business or got their success. They got their success or built their business from dragging their ass out of bed, going and grabbing a cup of coffee, and getting to work, right? Now, same here. However, there's a better way to do it. If you wait 90 minutes after you wake up, it allows your body to filter out the adenosine receptors and allows for more more receptors to be available for that caffeine to bind to. So it works better. You don't need as much. You're not going to need it for as long, and you're not going to have a crash. So
if you can give yourself 90 minutes.
90 minutes.
Is there anything else you can do in that 90 minutes to step away from the coffee machine and occupy your mind?
Yeah, absolutely. As soon as you wake up, drinking 12 to 24 ounces of water, that's super important. Everybody's dehydrated when you wake up. You lose like 200 milliliters of water when you sleep. That's 12 to 24 ounces, about 200 milliliters. So you're waking up dehydrated, so slam 24 ounces of water in the morning, and you won't need your caffeine until 90 minutes later. You won't feel like you need it then, right? Because your body's like waking itself up. Another thing you could do, depending on what time you wake up, if you wake up with the sun, or you wake up, maybe a little bit before first light, go outside and get that first light. What that's going to do is it's actually going to reset your circadian rhythm, your circadian clock, your internal clock that tells you when you're supposed to be awake, when you're supposed to go to sleep. That clock's really important. That clock is what basically is in charge of melatonin and serotonin production and release. So seeing first light in the morning is going to tell your body, oh, let's stop releasing and producing melatonin and let's start releasing serotonin. I'm awake now. Just the same thing as, at nighttime when last light, right? Dusk or dawn, dusk.
Yep.
Yeah, from dusk till dawn.
Yeah, exactly.
Great movie, by the way. Quentin Tarantino.
Plus George Clooney is a bad guy.
Oh, yeah. It's
fantastic.
Awesome. Yeah. Anyways, so getting that dusk light also tells your body the exact opposite. Okay, let's stop the serotonin, increase the melatonin production. That will help you go to sleep faster and stay asleep longer. So.
He's the head coach at Earn It All, Adam Niall. And we say he's the head coach, but he's really the GOAT. He's the guy that trains the trainers. But here's the bottom line. If you drink too much caffeine, now you have a couple of nuggets of information from Adam on how you can dial it back so you can make those changes. If you want more information, more helpful tips, follow the Earn It All podcast wherever you get your podcasts. We'll be back real soon.